how should a Noahide live his life properly? Well, the first thing is get yourself a guide. The Kohanim are to the Jewish people as the Jewish people are to the nations. And we have to actually be a light unto them. Some of them really need to know what to do. And thank God, they know the address, they know where to find the right people who can give them proper instruction. So when we talk about Judaism for Jews, we have all these interesting prohibitions: forbidden fat, Yom Kippur, kashrus. As our non-Jewish friends know, they don't have such a thing. There's all sorts of things that are technically permissible to Noahides, which were prohibited to the Jewish people, and perhaps they're not recommended. Okay, and they asked, how could that be? And the answer is, well, let's first go through the general list and explain what's going on here. Prostitution, yeah, that's technically not prohibited. Pornography, masturbation, gambling, usury, drug use, alcohol, tobacco, and even the dreaded mixed dancing are all technically permissible, but they should find someone who can teach them, learn how destructive these are. You have to understand that you can't prohibit these things, but to say like, yes, I don't want late night clubs where people can drink alcohol and do all those sorts of other gambling things and hanky panky, the rest of it. If a society is smart, its wise men or its judges will crack down on these things. But there are things that are actually forbidden. For example, blood sports. Okay, no one ever gave a heter for two men to try to knock each other senseless. Like even boxing, they're wearing gloves. Kal v'chomer, the mixed martial arts and all these other things. That there's no permissibility for men to engage in bloodshed, even if they permit each other to do so. Okay, so the problem is they don't have the sages to create fences. The sages tell us the Torah says don't light fires on Shabbos and don't plow your field, don't shear your sheep, etc. So the sages stepped in and gave us all sorts of enactments to keep us away from violating what we have. We didn't find that the sages enacted any siyag, or gader, su siyag, mishmeres l'mishmarti. Don't make a mishmeres, some sort of way to keep you from doing averas. We don't have such things. Okay, that's why, technically speaking, you need a good, a church. Okay, for instance, I don't want not the churchy type of churches. If you have graven images in such a place and they're too Christian for their own good, so you have a problem. But you need something like that, or a mosque. But the problem is, usually these types of things lead to also too much bloodshed, or a king or a good government who prevents all of these things and can tell people, what would be beneficial. Yes, you need to keep someone in line. So, yeah, that should be recommended. If you have, let's say, some sort of secular government, then instead of cracking down on people's rights to free speech and assembly and to bear arms, remember, if they're trying to disarm you, they're trying to harm you. Okay, first they disarm, then they harm. It rhymes. You want a government that protects people's rights, but also has a way to minimize vices. They try to one rule I wish they would even keep in this town. They keep a store where they sell alcohol, tobacco, cigarettes, and the like. They keep it far away from places of worship, the library, and the schools. Where I live, I've been trying to get them to stop this. They have the kiosk, and it's basically the 7-Eleven, the convenience store, and it sells all sorts of candies and goodies, and it's a place you could get at many hours a day, fresh bread and milk, for example. You need it. But the problem is, right next to the candies, behind the counter, they're also the ones who are selling the alcohol and the tobacco. So that's not good, and the children see that. And I remember there was one place, a local establishment, they were selling cigarettes. And I recommended to them, I spoke to their manager, stop selling cigarettes. If people don't need it, you're just harming them. And the response from the manager was, yeah, but people need that. They need to buy it. Like, there's a major demand that people want their cigarettes. So he provided, said, yeah, well, God should bless you. You should stop selling cigarettes. Okay. And God will make sure that you still have profits. You'll even profit more if you could stop doing this. But the problem is someone else is selling the cigarettes. And the children at a very young age see that Today it's the sour sticks, and the ice cream, and tomorrow, even before I'm of legal age, I'm going to start getting some cigarettes and some, even hard liquor. By the way, we're not just talking about beer or these soft drinks for 4% alcohol. You've seen them, the sweet stuff. They have they have whiskey and vodka and things like that. Totally inappropriate. Okay, you can buy whiskey when you have to celebrate your son's bris, but if you're not that old and you don't have such an occasion, then you shouldn't be doing it. What are you going to do? They have it. So this is something that, thank God, there are laws against having these things for sale nearby, and they don't enforce it here. They just it hasn't crossed their minds. I guess it's too much of a relaxed attitude toward these things. But basically, find someone who can teach you how to rein it in. Yeah, there are some people who are very good at self-control. They actually challenge people to all sorts of forms of self-control, like abstaining from food and other forms of abstinence for prolonged periods of time. That's good. By the way, the Torah is not such an advocate for that. Abstinence from things, at least the old understanding, certainly not the Maimonidean understanding, but if it's to teach someone self-control, then that's quite good. I wanted to show someone that there's a source here in the Rambam where I thought it was implied in Hilchos Deos. It's not explicit there, where the Rambam would presumably be not for staying up all night. I used to like to say that I didn't like the cultural phenomenon within our Judaism that there's certain nights are considered holy and we're supposed to stay up all night. I thought it was I'd rather fast 7 fasts, 7 Asar B'Teves, not on Friday, the long fasts, and not have to stay up all night. I don't think that's enjoyable. I don't think there's anything holy. I don't think the Torah ever commanded such a thing. Without electricity and coffee, for most people, it was impossible anyways. It was unheard of. And if the Vilna Gaon did stay up all night, it's because he didn't really need to sleep. He slept his hour and a half every single night. It was good for him. But the Rambam says you should try to sleep as much as you need, the right way. Sleep a third of your time, 8 hours a day. How many adults actually get to that? Did the Rambam himself actually get to that? No, he couldn't, but that's what he wanted to. So actually says it in the Shmona Prakim. The Shmona Prakim is Rambam's introduction to Pirkei Avos. And if you're following the Rambam, it's basically the dry one. It's the rough draft of a lot of treatises that eventually became part of Deos and Hilchos Tshuva, and some things in more Nevuchim, and some other classics that are in the Yad. And there he talks about people who abstain from things. I'll read the Kapach translation. That which you find that certain people among the Hasidim, they're very pious, okay, at certain times, miktsas zmanim means it's not all the time. It says, asher natu klape hakatzeh ha'echad. They sometimes became extreme. Remember, the Rambam has this Aristotelian ideal of the golden mean. Person should try to be very moderate in his behavior and also his character traits. He shouldn't be too stingy. He shouldn't be too of a much of a pazran. He's spending too much. He should not be too excitable. He should not be overly calm. Try to find the golden mean. But he also says sometimes people have to go to the extreme in order to fix something that perhaps they're at the wrong extreme. Okay, so he says there are some people who would have extreme behaviors. What does he say here? Okay, Tigon Hatzom, they would fast when the Torah does not prescribe and the sages do not prescribe. V'nidud sheina b'layla, or depriving themselves of sleep at night. V'aznachar achilat habasar v'shtiyat hayayin, or pushing aside or detesting the eating of meat and wine. V'archakar anashim, staying away from women, abstinence. Ulvishat atzemer v'asak, and instead, what are they doing? They're wearing wool directly on their skin or sackcloth, uncomfortable clothing, right? Dressing like monks. Umigurei ha'arim, or living up in the mountains. It means, cave dwelling. Va'ipodadut b'midbaroth. This means being a hermit, being alone, extended periods of time in the wilderness. Lo asu shum davar bizeh ela al derech haripui kamosha b'yarnu. If you see that there was someone, he decided he was going to live out in the middle of nowhere and just subsist on some bread and water and dates, whatever it might be, in a mountain cave, and wear very simple clothing. And he was a chassid. He wasn't some meshugana who did this. He was doing it in order to fix himself. It was a therapeutic or medicinal, as we were saying earlier. Okay, he's trying to fix something in his neshama. So that's when we do this. And one of those is, once again, fasting and depriving oneself of sleep. And it's Machon Rambam that depriving oneself of sleep when he should be sleeping is like fasting. Okay? It's not something we do. I understand why we reserve this for certain holy days, okay? Or we convince people that it's such the case. I remember hearing someone says, "You love God, so you do extreme things. When you're in love, you do extreme things, and that's why you stay up all night." Okay, I don't know. Or we saw that perhaps the whole idea staying up on Hoshana Rabbah, for example, was for people to catch up on their Torah study. They're going to finish the Torah reading cycle on Simchas Torah. They have 2 days left. In Israel, they have 1 day left. So they have to catch up on what they didn't cover. And that became like something now everybody has to stay up all night. And they encourage teenagers to do it. And I don't know if there's so much of a Tuelis. I just know that it's, at least for the Rambam types, it's not the best thing. Wish everybody good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. And we'll still tell everybody to watch out. The rabbi was warning everybody that we have to do tshuva. We have to repent. I'm still worried. There's the enemies are still around, and the third horseman of retribution. We had the plague, we had the war on the sword, and now we're just asking for famine if we don't fix what needs to be fixed. So we should pray for repentance today, that we see Am Yisrael wake up and as a group and return to keeping the mitzvahs entirely. Have a Shabbat Shalom, v'nisachon.